Welcome, everyone. This is the January 24th study session meeting of the Board of Commissioners. Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Sarah.
Johnson?
Here.
Wheelock?
Yes, ma'am.
Gorfulet? Here. Mayor?
Here.
Klaus?
Here.
I show Lathrop and Crawford is excused.
This is time for first public comment. Sarah, will you please read the comment?
Any person shall be permitted to address a meeting of the Board of Commissioners which is required to be open to the public under the provision of the Michigan Open Meetings Act. Public comment shall be carried out in accordance with the following board rules and procedures. Any person wishing to address the board shall state his or her name and address. No person shall be allowed to speak more than once on the same matter, excluding time needed to answer commissioners' questions, if any. The chairperson shall control the amount of each person shall be allowed to speak, which shall not exceed 3 minutes. The chairperson may at his or her discretion extend the amount of time any person is allowed to speak. Public comment will be solicited during the 2 public comment periods noted in Rule 5.4 Order of Business. However, public comment will generally be received at any time during the meeting regarding a specific topic currently under discussion by the board. Members of the public wishing to comment should raise their hand or pass a note to the clerk in order to be recognized and shall not address the board until called upon by the chairperson. Please be respectful and refrain from personal or political attacks.
Anybody for public comment?
I was going to try to wait.
When did you become bashful?
I haven't been, but I was trying to be polite.
Just checking.
A little bit different. Good evening. My name is Carol Stocking. I'm an employee of the 86th District Court, and I just prepared something I'd like to share this evening. First of all, good evening. I'm here tonight as an employee of the 86th District Court who has regular contact with county administration, finance, human resources, and facilities. I would like to report that the sky is not falling. We have lost our county administrator, which is unfortunate, but we are in good hands with those who remain, and the daily work is being done. Sorry. Specifically, Jean Dorenzi will provide leadership for the next 5 weeks, but I'm hopeful that you will entertain the thought of hiring an interim administrator during the search for a new administrator. It is critical that you continue the positive momentum that Vicki and Jean have started. Employee morale has rebounded and employees are feeling optimistic. It is important that employees feel valued. Sorry. They are your greatest asset. These employees provide the services that you've deemed important to your constituents. Having Dean Bott back in finance is a brilliant move by Vicki. The finance department is in a fine place and the work is getting done. We are truly lucky to have Dean back. The Human Resource Department has 3 staff members. While Rita has been in the department for a while, she has been joined by 2 very competent human resource professionals who are already serving the employees efficiently. This department will need some time to allow these new employees to learn systems, policies, and develop a plan for going forward, but I feel confident that we are in a fine place today. Everyday needs are being met. The facilities staff continues to complete everyday work orders. I have not experienced any interruption in services from my perspective as it relates to facility requests. The biggest need in this organization is strong, positive, visionary leadership. This comes from both the administrator's office and from you as commissioners. The 7 of you play an integral part in planning for the future of this county as it relates to the services we provide to citizens, and you define the vision. Your job is to define the vision and hire capable professionals to carry out that vision. It's critical that you as board members allow staff to carry out the vision and not get involved in daily activities. Your job is to define the what. What services are we going to provide as a county to our citizens? The how should be left up to administration. That is why you hire an administrator. They need to decide how to get this organization to the desired end. You now have the opportunity to hire a new administrator. I urge you to be careful and thoughtful. Most importantly, reach a consensus. Allow the next administrator to start as a board united. In hiring a new administrator, here are my thoughts on where the process could be improved. GovHR, I think it's GovHR, did a nice job recruiting candidates. The number of applicants,
Go ahead.
I really am almost done. The number of applicants were comparable to other entities searching for an administrator. GovHR should have been more forthright with information that they learned in vetting each candidate. I believe that has been communicated to them. Where the process can be improved, the interview questions should not be given to candidates in advance. Part of what you're trying to learn in the interview process is how a candidate responds under pressure. Do they have a logical thought process, and can they articulate those thoughts in communication? These attributes are as important as what they know. This is a critical position, one that is high profile in the community. A second interview is absolutely necessary. Perhaps department managers or elected officials could offer some questions based on the candidate's first interview responses. A meet and greet should be scheduled for finals for all employees and the community, giving anyone who is interested an opportunity to meet the finalists. Those who want to give their input can contact a commissioner privately. I feel confident with where the county is today. We have hundreds of employees who work really hard doing everyday work and are doing really good work. I wish you the very best in your decisions in this regard. I thank you for your time, and let me say I appreciate your service.
Excuse me. Can I ask you a question, Carol? Me? Okay. I know you have a background in HR.
Yes, sir.
And I appreciate all your comments, and I agree with you. But at what time, or maybe you could talk about it later date, at what time do you think this many employees, between 475 and 500 employees, should have, or academically should have, an HR director? Because my opinion is that there should be an HR director at some point, even though I know there are other ways to do it. So.
And I agree with you, but I'm not sure that that's a priority. I feel like the HR department's in capable hands. I think getting an administrator and a deputy county administrator in place, they can get an HR director down the road. I don't know that that's, in terms of vacancies, I don't know that that would be a priority, but I agree with you.
Yeah, so not a priority, but after an administrator and deputy administrator position is filled, you think it might be a good idea?
Absolutely. Yep.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else for public comment? With that, I think that our interim administrator takes over the study
On the
session.
goal-setting session.
And the goal setting.
Yeah,
Yes.
this is not a strategic planning. This is goal-setting and priorities for 2018. And I wanted to start with a positive note. It's all positive that we'll be talking today, of course, but it's more about where we are at as a county. And when talking with the equalization director, he identifies that the taxable value will increase approximately 2% for 2019 budget, which really, and that does not include construction. So it shows that we are continuing to grow, and our growth is continuing. So we'll see the growth in our bottom line and into our general fund components. As you know, taxable value is an important component when looking at your priorities as well. Don't have a number, but you know now that we're going to be increasing by over 2%. So that's how I'm going to start the priority components. And the memo that I have for you that I put together really was based on the meetings that I have been involved with and how we started the 2008 budget, or 2018, and we'll be building on the 2019, which starts me with the facilities budget. You have two attachments. Attachment A is the facilities projects that is in the 2018 budget. And those came from an outside commercial report, this is one of the reports. It's a commercial corporation that really reviewed, I think, 7 of our buildings and have a report that shows what needs to be repaired. So on 2018, that our facilities director took what those are the most priorities and built attachment A and attachment B. So that's how we built the 2018 budget. The 2019 budget will be built from attachment B. Bruce Ramey is our interim facilities manager and has looked at the list and would be helping the new facilities manager build that 2019. As you know, the list is big, and on attachment A, it's 620
623.
622. That is within our capital improvement budget. So we do have the money to make the needed repairs. Is there any questions on that?
questions?
I'm assuming.
Cheryl?
Well, as far as this goes, I think it's fine. I guess the concern that I have is that it still feels like it's a Band-Aid approach to our facilities. It isn't forward-thinking. It isn't a template for, okay, next year we're going to need to paint these 3 buildings, or next year we're going to need to replace 3,000 feet of carpeting, or, you know, the expected life. I mean, it says when something was purchased, but it doesn't say when it's expected to expire. So, you know, when I was at the college, we had a facilities evaluation done that actually told us each building and laid out what each square foot was as far as what shape the carpet was in, what shape the paint was in, what shape the bathrooms were in, you know, the desks, everything, and projected the life of it, and then, you know, came up with a schedule of what the repairs should be with a dollar sign attached to it. And then, as an administration, as a board, we were given the opportunity to decide whether we wanted to have the highest level of repairs, or if we wanted the lowest level of repairs, or if we wanted something in between. And based on your choice, you knew what the cost was going to be in order to maintain your facilities at that level. A part of the reason we had to do that was because we had multiple millions of dollars worth of deferred maintenance at NMC. This was about 15 years ago, and we had lots of stuff that needed to be done. We didn't have the money to do it, so we had to come up with a plan to chip away at it. Again, this feels like it's a piece, but it's not the whole piece. It doesn't give us, you know, that 3-year thing we talked about, having a 3-year plan. When it comes to facilities, I think we need a 5-year plan. I mean, I think we need to know when's that big furnace going to need to be replaced that's going to cost us $500,000. I don't think this is it. Maybe I'm reading this wrong, but this doesn't seem like that's it. Seems like it's for next year, not even for every building or every facility.
Well, in my mind, what we're looking at here is a recommendation based on priorities of what we should move forward with repairs in 2018.
Yep.
I think we definitely need to talk about a long-term plan, but I don't believe we're in a position to do that right today. You know, we have a capital improvement plan the county has in place that does address some of those things that are out 3 years, 5 years from now. You know, it probably hasn't been updated recently, but it is around.
It hasn't been updated, but I think that's what this is a start on the buildings that we have, because it goes into the boilers and the heating systems. So Bruce and the new facilities manager will be digging into these reports to be able to build that capital improvement plan. But the $2 million figure on attachment B is really supposed to get more into those details. That's what you're referring to. So that $2 million, can you spread that out for 3 or 4 years and then add other components to it? Because it does get down to when, like on attachment A, for the replacement of the pool roof, it says that it has to be replaced within 1 to 3 years. So it gives you a range of when it has to be, when the life of that expectancy is going to be over. So the reports are more detailed, and I think the manager and the director can get into that and start making the capital improvement plan for you.
But they appear on both.
They appear on both. So B is the full list. A So A is an extraction of B.
So 2 shouldn't actually reflect $2,896,000. It should be shy by about $623,000, correct?
Correct, yes. So it comes up to 2.2 million.
Provided there's no other additions,
Correct.
you know.
Yeah.
And just a couple questions. Is this cost with the county doing the work, or is this contracted out?
Some will be for the county doing the work, but as the big ticket items, like the replacing of the roof and the engineering.
Just a lot there. I didn't know if they had the manpower to do a lot of this. so-
No, no.
The roof at the pool, is that under the Friends group, or that they just specifically the pool? Excuse me, don't count. No, it is not.
It's not. It's a county-owned asset, so the county would be replacing the pool roof.
Yes, Cheryl.
And just as an aside, I know Tom and I have talked about this before, but we're curious as to why there isn't the pro rata city contribution to that asset like there is to this asset.
So the city, because they are in this building, I can't answer that completely, but
The city is not a co-owner. They're not on the deed. It's that simple. They're on the deed for this property as a tenant in common. The deed, if you look at the deed, and I don't remember the date of the deed, but when it was the fairgrounds, it was transferred to the county and only the county, and not the city.
Well, I guess I just would like, as far as replacing a roof, right now, are we committed to maintaining the Civic Center pool in perpetuity? Because we keep putting significant sums of money into this asset. I mean, do we want to maintain this asset?
You probably legally are required to maintain that asset because of the grant funds that DNR gave the county to operate the Civic Center. Those are in perpetuity grants.
So we're in perpetuity bound to continue to have a pool there and to repair it?
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily the pool.
The building.
Okay. Well, I assume that the roof keeps having problems partially because there's a pool underneath it.
Well, I think the Friends group is rocking and rolling as far as fundraising, so I think with the new equipment they're wanting to put in there, that should help alleviate a lot of that, is my impression. So
That'd be good.
hopefully that will fix itself when they get done. And as you know, I was a big supporter of closing it, but they're doing what they need to do, and it's going to be an awesome facility once they're done, so.
Yeah.
I think they're going to handle, the equipment they're talking about is going to handle some of the things that contributed to the bad roof. But the bottom line is, that roof is old.
Yeah.
It is scheduled it's way past
Yeah, it's scheduled.
its expected life expectancy. So the fact that the structure, for me, it's not about the pool, it's about the fact that the county building in which the pool happens to be housed needs a new roof. And we've put that one off for at least 5 or 6, 10 years farther than we probably should have already.
5, 6, 10.
I don't count well.
And it's easier to do it when you plan it than when you have to.
Right.
you know?
Absolutely.
And I think this is a good thing. When we look through this list of projects for 2018, it's a pretty ambitious list. I'm not quite sure that any of us or any of the local contractors that I know of are going to be able to get through this list because all of them already have full plates. When you start going out for bids for some of these projects, they're going to be tough to get qualified contractors to even bid the work because they've already got more work than they're going to get done
Don't be negative
this
on
next
this
year.
meeting, so.
I'm just saying that. One of the things, I'm a little, I guess, frustrated about some of the things that are being listed to be repaired at the District Court building, the Hall of Justice, and the Health Services building. Those are brand-new buildings. Why, it's not that old. Why are we seeing these kinds of repairs being required? The Hall of Justice was probably less than 10 years old.
time goes by fast. I can't say how long it is,
You
but
know, I'm
it's a
gonna say,
relatively new
I'm gonna say
building.
about 10 years old. That'd be 10
10
years.
years, yeah.
So, we're looking at, mortar joints being missing, broken facades having to be redone, metal caps having to be replaced. That's concerning to me. I think the idea that other handicaps are that more of a use of that back door than we'd originally anticipated, the one by the prosecutor's office. I think that's where that's changed. I think that door is being used more than it was kind of originally thought of as more of an emergency exit, and now that's why we're dealing with more handicap access to that door. I understand that, but, health services building, painting the parking lots, lines, $5,000, that's not horrible, but
Tom, you had a comment?
how does the Hall of Justice have non-handicap approved bathrooms?
No kidding.
Because we have this in front of us, it'd be nice for me, because I've only been a commissioner for a year, to know, like the roof at the Civic Center, how long these items have been, passed on and just not, taken care of, just to sort of rate them as to how old they are, because I know that's an old one. That's the one that I've heard about the most. And I'm wondering if that were to go out for bid, would the process be to just say we need a roof on the pool, give us estimates, or are we going to tell people that that's what we think it costs, or are we going to ask for quotes, or what's going to be our process for that? And it might be on the low side, I'm guessing. I don't know how many square feet that is, but a total roof removal is very expensive. I had one done in my house. I know it's quite expensive, but I don't know how many square feet of roof that is, but that could be on the low side, 100,000, just guessing. And then things that would be nice to also know about are how we can bring this building and other buildings that we have up to ADA requirements, even though it might not be required by the law, just to try to make them more universally accessible. If any sidewalks are replaced, consider the cost benefit of heating the sidewalks rather than just putting in sidewalk again that needs to have snow removal done. And also that the city, there's an ordinance that says that the business that's occupying a building or the people who own the building, they're required to clean the city sidewalks on their property, and ours go without being cleaned. I did try to get that activated when Marty was facilities manager, and he started to do it. And we used a couple jail trustees to push a little harder to make that happen, but I know for sure, because I went back to inspect, and it maybe happened once and didn't happen continuously. So our city sidewalks are not really kept up to the conditions that they should be. And if I knew that they were, then I could go to other forms of government like the city, and then some of the larger businesses in town, and get them to do what's required as well by city ordinance to keep the sidewalks clean. I've been more successful this year than I have in past years, but it's been an uphill battle. I've been at this for about 10 years at least, and I've had many people resistant to doing it, and I've also been told that the city cleans the city sidewalks, and that's just not true, because all they do is assist in the cleaning of the city sidewalks. So it'd be nice to know how we could to fit that into to facilities as well, because that's really what the department that would oversee the sidewalk cleaning. But so what can you say about how we would go out for a bid, and when would we be likely to go out to get bids on replacing the roof or the two roofs at Civic Center?
It would be a request for proposal.
Yep.
So, and I would say that it would be, we'd work with Bruce right now and have, so it would happen in the spring of 2018. Get my years confused, sorry. So that the bid would be going out probably in the month of February. But this was proposed, the 108,835 was proposed within the assessment report that was completed. So I think it's as good of a bid as we can, and it was done at the end of 16. So it could be a little low, but I think it's best estimate that we can have at the time, based on the square footage.
And a complete removal in this case is probably a very good idea.
No, probably not.
No?
No, it's a membrane roof, so you won't, it's not like shingles, you don't have to scrape it off. Usually.
Have we covered?
All right, I think we beat the pool here.
Any other questions? Any questions from the public?
And then it moves on to the IT budget, so it's still a facility improvement. I call it a software improvement. This came to you in November of last year, and we built this into the 2018 budget. And this will be how we build the 19 and the 20 budget as well. So I like to keep that in front of you so you remember when you see the budgets that this is an important component and we can't stop midway. So Phase 1, Phase 2, and Phase 3 are an important component. Ming Mays, our IT director, is here, and she's happy to answer questions for you. The RFP is out, and we'll be coming back to this board the last meeting in February. So,
This looks awesome.
Will the RFPs that are out, will that be most everything that's in the Phase 1? Or will
Not
be
most.
just piece of it?
The piece of it, the biggest component, which is the sand, is out. And then my next things will be the network, and then pretty much after network, I can do the rest of all at once. Yeah. It's just a lot. I want to do it right. I need to do my homework. And you guys know I only be here a half year. I need to do my diligence. Kind of like, my work's kind of related to the facility, kind of, similar. I want to have a solution instead of just, get something and replace and call it good. I want to be solution oriented. So that's why it took me, it seems like a long time from November to now, and so just a lot of changes. And so I've been really talking to different vendors and the vendors we never worked with before. So I've been doing a lot of that. And finding like a different discount contract with the government contract that we never used before in the IT department in the past. So I've been doing that too. So it's just a lot of busy work.
I mean, it looks good to me. I mean, the stuff we've got to do.
No, it's-
We can't sit around any longer on
The
the,
unfortunate piece of this is we budgeted this money in 2017 and made no moves toward upgrading it in 2017.
It wasn't spent in 2017 either, so we have the funds.
Absolutely. I'm not saying that the money was used for something else. I'm just saying that we identified this as a priority and we budgeted the money for it, but we didn't follow through to make it happen. And I guess all of us take some responsibility for that, so.
We had nobody in place to head it up.
yeah, I mean, she exactly hit the nail on the head with, she needed to figure out what we needed without jumping headfirst into the pool again, so.
There's that pool
I know.
again. I have a question for Ming.
Thank you, Ming.
I have a
Thank you.
question for Ming.
Okay.
What sort of support are you getting from the IT department? I mean, have they been helpful with this?
Yes.
I mean, I would think that they've got a lot of institutional knowledge as far as knowing what's working, what's not working, where the black holes are, so to
Yes.
speak. Okay.
And the black hole is very obvious. I learned that in a few weeks.
Okay.
Yeah. And just like had to find out where's the deeper hole. So,
Which is the deepest, right?
Yeah, which one's the deepest, which one that is,
You have to find out where the ladder is to get down the hole to find the information you're looking for.
Well, thank you. This is a great plan, and
Great.
I'm very excited to see that we have a plan. So, thank you.
I appreciate it, being very supportive, so thank you so much.
Thank you, Ming.
Thanks.
the next priority that I've identified is the Commission on Aging. You being the County Board of Commissioners have identified how are we spending the fund balance and keeping it within the policy of the County Board of Commissioners. And within your packet is basically on attachment D, it identifies the fund balance, the projected fund balance, and the policy target. So we're pretty close on both the general Commission on Aging and the senior. The general is met by the attachment that Cindy and Jill created on what services they're looking at and how they're utilizing the fund balance to better serve the seniors. And I think the better person to really identify how they put this plan together would be Cindy, to identify the COAST program and the Home Shore program and answer the questions that you have relative to servicing the seniors.
Hi, Cindy.
Good evening.
So first of all, the IT request, as we move forward, as we are building our electronic client record, which is so important, working closely with Ming and Justin, we've identified some additional software and custom services that we need. And also to be aware, we are literally building our own record. So we're not looking for outside vendors to even, or the vendor itself to support that. We're actually have hired someone was the scheduler auditor and is doing an awesome job doing actually the entire build. So it's being literally modified to whatever our needs are. We also need, of course, the backup of the telephones and how we're going to do the assessments. We've got 12 iPads, and so we need the data plan, the backup for that, which is going to cost us $31,000 plus a year. We also, along with that, we have to, we're going to do billing and payment options, our vouchers, are keeping track of those. We've identified that we need to purchase QuickBooks, and that's going to be about $1,200. We could go along with that. Meg has recommended that we have a monitor and a desktop, which will cost $1,100, and then we also have a 12-year-old Workhorse printer. We do a lot of our own, almost all of our own printing, sending out things on a monthly basis and our own brochures and things like that, so that's really kind of a necessity for us to save money in the long run. Any questions with?
On printing, is it cheaper to go outside? Have you compared that, or is it easier to do it in-house?
We've looked at it, and for how often we do it, it's actually been
easier?
cheaper for us just to
Okay.
do it.
And just to remind the board, on the COAST program, that's going to be coming back to you at your February meeting to extend that program.
And we've been, as I said at our other meeting last Wednesday, we've been getting such a positive response from this. We're still getting minimum 3 to 4 new members. Our rides are going up consistently every time we have a ride Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We'd really like to project adding on a 4th day at the 3rd quarter, and if that's positive, adding on another day the 5th quarter. I think it's really just such a great service to our community, and that we keep it free. And they're using it for all kinds of reasons, so medical reasons, private reasons, gambling, whatever they need to do. That's been great. Any questions on the Coast Bus? And then again, projecting that in 2019, it would be 5 days a week.
I have a question.
And the cost, again, doesn't only goes up as we add another day for the bus driver. That's it. We're already paying for the advertising on the 2 buses, and that's $350 a month. So really, it's minimal in the field for the service we provide.
Sure.
I have a question about the advertising, and I know it's not a lot of money, but it sort of sticks in my craw that we're paying to advertise on the Beta Bus to get people to ride the Beta Bus. And I mean, I want a piece of that action, okay? I mean, most of the ads on the Beta Bus are for banks or for services or for something not related to Beta. You know, you see the happy smiling banker or you see the whatever. This is us paying the Beta Bus to advertise for people to use the Beta Bus. And it just feels very self-serving. It feels like Beta ought to be able to just not charge us for that. So I'm just throwing that out there. That's what it feels like to me.
Yeah, we're just thinking of every way we can to get the message out there. Again, every day I meet someone new that hasn't heard about the Coast Bus. So we're still trying to get the word out there, and we see that the rides are getting increasing every day. We're getting more riders, so any way we can, that's what we're thinking.
Well, how about asking them how they heard about the Coast Bus, and then if, how they heard about the program, and if they all come back and say...
We will come back with that
Yeah,
information.
I mean, if they all come back and say, gee, we found out about it because we saw the bus drive by, and that's what gave I mean, I'm guessing they're probably hearing about it from the senior center, they're probably hearing about it from the mailings that they get, I don't know.
It's a myriad of ways.
Sure.
There's just not one answer
Sure.
to that.
But just for future reference, you might talk to them about gouging the hand that feeds them. The other thing I want to say about the bus is, I personally think that you should be looking at anybody over the age of 60 being able to ride the Beta Bus for free.
That's what we're doing.
No,
the Beta
you're
Bus.
not.
You said the
I'm
anything
talking the
bus.
Beta Bus, that's
Oh.
right. I'm talking about anybody over 60 who's a Grand Traverse County resident, gets a little card, they show it to Beta, Beta's in charge of keeping track of the numbers, they send a bill, and let's see what it costs us. I mean, it shouldn't just be these 30 people or these 60 people. I mean, how many people is Coast serving right now?
Yeah, we
Weekly,
do.
18?
18 people?
How many people is it servicing?
71.
Weekly?
71, well, 70, all I know is that there's 71 unduplicated riders that have been using the bus.
For the,
So-
for the 2.5 months that we've had it?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm saying, if you're over 60, why should you have to use the Coast bus in order to have the benefit of riding the bus? Because you're making it free.
Well, we do provide vouchers, and that's on a sliding scale, so they do use other modes of transportation.
I'm asking you to look at what the possibility would be. You show them your driver's license, or you get a chit, whatever it is, you flash it to the bus, and you get to ride for free if you're over 60. What would that cost us?
They actually do right now, if someone calls up and they can't get the time that they would like, and get the time on the bus, they do try to provide them with additional service for free on another one of the buses.
That's what
So
I'm
they are
thinking.
doing that,
I'm
so-
thinking it's already out there, so I'm just thinking, let's make it available for everybody. I doubt that there's going to be a huge flood of people who are going to park their car and decide they want to ride the bus, but I think we should look at it.
Sonny?
Well, when it comes to the bus, I always have this thing, I think I know why they do the advertising and put the bus wraps on them, because you can't see how many people are on the bus anymore. I'm still concerned that even though we've got 71 people utilizing it, there's rarely more than 1 or 2 people on the thing at a time.
That's correct.
And we're contracting for this specific service. How many people are actually on that bus? The buses are what the buses are. We all have to realize that in the real world, they're not that terribly efficient way to get from point A to point B. But, I really think we need to, look at that model a little bit. I appreciate the fact that 71 people are using it over a 2.5-month period, but 71 people, I divide that by 3 times a week for this month, it's not a lot of ridership.
For
and
$21,000.
For a lot of money. But the most important thing that I saw in this plan that I really had concern about was the addition of the 2 additional staff. I hate to use one-time money for something, I hate to put one-time money to put staff in place, because we all know that when that money's gone, those people don't go away either, so we end up trying to figure out some way to continue to pay them. That was my real concern when we talked about using one-time money, which is to pay down this fund balance by hiring 2 additional staff. If we truly believe that it is going to eliminate the wait list, and when the wait list is gone, those 2 employees are going away, I'm okay with that. But if it's not, we really need to have a discussion about how we're going to fund these 2 people in perpetuity after this fund balance is paid down. Because I do believe that the 2 people to bring down the wait list, that's fine, as long as we're all under the understanding, both us and the employees that you hire, when that wait list comes down to a certain point, you're no longer employed. And we'll see how the union likes that.
Our restriction with trying to get rid of the wait list is the problem that different vendors for different reasons, like the snow vendors, other lawn services, that kind of thing, we're limited by their liability insurance. So if we could go out and get unlimited vendors, then we wouldn't even have a problem. We probably wouldn't be having this discussion. Also, historically, they've had 8 home short on their team before and actually utilized them quite well. I guess at one point in time with the budget, they just decided when someone left, they weren't going to replace them to try to save money. But they were utilized efficiently at one time. And Jill could probably tell you what years exactly, but they were used.
Well, my concern, I don't have the question that there's a workload there for them and that it is appropriate, but I'm concerned when we identify the way that we're going to fund it with one-time money.
Sonny, I would say that this is going to go to the advisory committee that you're creating, and it's not just one-time money. So Jill and Cindy are looking at how much is coming in from the millage each year. And so it's not just one time on how much is going to be going back into fund balance. So it's more of a broad look. It's not just one time. They're looking at what's coming in, and also they're looking at different services that they would be increasing as well. So I think this is a great opportunity for the advisory committee to work with Cindy and the staff to look at what you identified as the fund balance, as well as what additional services there will be. and they know what they're going to be getting in on the millage each year. So it's more of a broad look.
What is the wait list? Is there a wait list?
Yes, there's definitely a wait list. Do you have the number that you can attest
think
to?
Right on your
I don't
sheet,
know, I don't
it's
have the numbers
100.
with me. If I Jill
120.
doesn't know them today, we can get them to you easily.
Right now, there's over 200 people getting vouchers. Snow removal, those are people that are on our wait list. And we don't have enough vendors, so now we've had to start a wait list for getting on the voucher program. And there's about 30 people waiting to get on the vouchers.
Okay, what about services beyond snow removal? Are there people waiting for home chore
That's
help?
home chore, and then lawn maintenance. Last year, I think we had about 180 on the vouchers for lawn maintenance. So there's your wait list. So we either pay for vouchers or we pay employees to do it. That's how it was set up at one time when we lost the 2 employees.
Great, well, I'm personally very excited to hear about what you and the advisory board come up with for a solution, because those numbers are not great. And you know, we all agree on that, so.
Well, I'm for increasing Beta ridership, and Cheryl's idea of making as efficient as possible. I've looked into it myself, and I use Beta occasionally, but whether you have a disability or you're a senior citizen, you can travel for as little as 75 cents a ride, and some of the other rides are $1.50. But, if we were comparing side by side every time we're approving a coast plan expense, we could compare it with what would cost to just cover all those rides and throw in some money for marketing perhaps to get more people to ride the bus. You might want to tell people when they ride the bus they won't get a parking ticket downtown. That might encourage a few new riders, because they're so vigilant downtown with the parking tickets. It becomes extra expensive to carry your car around with you when you could be using a bus.
The Coast program, though, is door-to-door, correct?
Yes, pardon?
Door-to-door.
Yes.
They pick you up at which,
And they assist you to the door, too, not just from the walk.
correct.
Yeah, so that could be $1.50 if you were a senior citizen.
But it doesn't matter. It's still the idea that they pick you up at the door and they take you to the doctor's office. So who else is getting on that bus during that period of time? Or is this a cab service?
Right.
Now, if this is a taxi service, we should.
29 rides today. That's one trip. That's in 9 hours. So that's pretty good, considering they travel, certain distances. Sometimes they're picking up a number of people. I'm sure it varies from day to day.
So they only pick up the people on the coast list. If they go by and there's somebody else waiting, they don't stop and pick them up.
No, that's correct.
See, that seems really inefficient to me. Is there a reason for that?
It's just the dedicated
It's their
bus to
it's just
be
their
able to pick up
policy.
by appointments. Because we've not had, I'll say it's amazing, we've not had one complaint from anybody about being stranded, being too late, not getting picked up, which I find amazing. I came from Chicago and it was a nightmare. It was grievance every day. People were getting stranded, waiting 3 hours for a ride, not picked up. They missed their doctor's appointment, then their doctor's charged for not getting there. I just can't believe we haven't had one complaint. It's been a great service.
And you'll be presenting us more information next month?
Yes.
Awesome, thank you.
Any other questions?
any public comment on this?
Thank you.
The
Thank you.
other piece of that is in your packet is relative to the senior center. And there's a request, their fund balance is a little higher than the targeted. And Lori Wells and Christine Erickson is here to talk to you about the request for the set-aside funds. And I just wanted to make sure that this board knows that the senior center is not owned by the county, and the land is not owned by the county. And it's based on an intergovernmental agreement between the city and the county on how we operate that building. So I just like to make sure you're aware of that before you make decisions.
So they help pay for it. Is that right?
The city of Traverse City?
You just said it was co-owned by the city.
The city owns the
Solely owned by
building,
the city.
and they own the land. Chris was going to have to identify how
Yeah,
that
if I
structure
can,
is.
give me a minute here, let me put the contract.
They own the building
You know-
and they own the land.
Yeah, they own the building. I'm sorry, let me get to the right spot here. Yeah, so the senior center is owned by the city, and the county in 2011 agreed to become the operators and manage the senior center. And
Why did we do that?
that's a good question.
Can we unagree to do that?
Well, so the problem with the agreement is it is in place until 2022.
Oh, that's coming up.
But there was a voted millage to operate, countywide to operate the senior center. So then the county.
Yeah,
had
that's
a
right. It was-
responsibility for it. Once a countywide millage was passed to operate the senior center, then the county needed to take responsibility for some of that operation.
But we neither own the building nor the land.
We have other buildings that we operate that we don't own.
Like,
Front Street,
that's a mistake, too.
that's another whole discussion.
The building and the operation is working well, and they are doing fundraising, as you know, for a major renovation for the senior center. But I just wanted to make sure that you knew that there's an intergovernmental agreement, and how that moves forward, I think, Christine, you can.
Right, so
kind of-
Commissioners, this has been an ongoing conversation to refurbish the senior center building for many, many years, it's my understanding. Chris Erickson, Director of Grand Traverse County Parks and Recreation Senior Center Network. So once the millage was passed, residents thought we'd get serious about it, about helping get that building refurbished. We have been in long-term talks with the city. As Civil Counsel Chris Forsyth mentioned, we are in an intergovernmental agreement with the city, which actually has worked very well. They own the parkland, they own the building that sits on the parkland, and we put on the county, we being the county, and now Parks and Recreation puts on the programming out of that building to serve our seniors and to provide the services they receive. Several years ago, the County Commission approved setting aside $250,000 toward furniture funding for this building. And there is not going to be as much of a need for furniture as there is to have it refurbished. There is also money in fund balance that is available, senior center fund balance, not Parks and Recreation, to help fund this building. Many seniors are under the impression that part of the millage monies were going to go toward funding this building, to help fund this building. As I said, we've been talking with the city, and at some point we are going to ask them for help with this as well. Right now, there are $411,000 in the bank with the city of Traverse City, funds that have been raised for this project. There are $250,000 committed to this project already in terms of furniture that we would like restrictions released on to put toward actually having the refurbishment project. The project itself is $1.2 million. We would like to request $150,000 more from fund balance for the senior center to add to this project. Then we will only be about $400,000 short. The reason why, I think what will put it in context for you, hopefully, the city maintains that property and its infrastructure, so they'll put a new roof in or a boiler or furnace, whatever. And I guess you can liken this to being a reversal of some of the relationships that we have in Parks and Recreation. Center Ice, they take over the arena, they pay rent for it, and there is a rent involved with the senior center. They pay rent for it, and we maintain the facility, but they put on all the programming, and they make sure that it's exactly how it is when they leave. We take care of the big fixes for them, we being the county. We also have an agreement like that, for instance, and we have several agreements like this with the YMCA. So they're managing the pool for us, but we take care of the building. Well, I would look at this agreement, although not identical, you could liken it to a role reversal in this instance. And like I said, the agreement has worked well. We have good relations with the city that are getting better and better. We feel like this is important to provide service to all of our county residents. The majority of them come from outside of the city proper, and it's just been a way to both of us work together to provide the services that they want. They don't want that location to move, and that's the compromise that we have struck is through this intergovernmental agreement.
Any questions?
Can we get a copy of that, please?
Sure. Sonny?
Well, for the life of me, I don't understand why you would even consider putting a $1.5 million addition on that senior center where it's at. There's nothing about that makes any sense. It's too hard to get in and out of it. It's just not a good use of the land. It just simply isn't. I've never been able to understand the argument that we've got to have the Civic Center, but it has to be here. I just don't. I think it's a horrible waste of good parkland, or more importantly, maybe land they could put back on the tax roll. You know, I'll never understand why we are compelled to say that the senior center has to remain here.
They've done a feasibility study, and also the most recent survey we did, again, everyone who responded to it, please improve the senior center. We want it.
What percentage of 95,000 taxpayers in Grand Traverse County responded to the survey?
Correct. The last survey we did, 300, but that was a Parks and Rec survey, but it was interesting that the senior center refurbishment also came up on there.
100,000.
300 people out of 95,000.
The feasibility study we could certainly share with you too, and I already have shared with all of you our Parks and Rec study for the master plan, or the master plan with a study in it. I realize that's a small percentage, the 300 who recently responded. Lori hears it over and over again from everybody she serves there, and she could give you the numbers of the amount of people that we serve there, and they want it. So that's what we're doing, is keeping it there.
I just would make a comment that we could use that same argument on pretty much everything that comes in front of us, that it's always a small amount of people that make the pitch for an improvement or for a necessity. So, I mean, 300 people seems about par for what's come in front of us in the past. Thank you. Any other questions?
I think this will come back to you because of the fund balance policy and what their recommendation is. So if you have any comments, get with Lori or Chris or myself.
I personally have no problem changing the restriction on that property as far as the commitment of the money that we have, because $250,000 is a lot of furniture for a facility like this. So I'm not quite sure how that furniture restriction was put on there in the first place.
Thank you, Commissioners.
The next component is that you've identified as a commission as the ad hoc committees, and that is for the new jail and a regional morgue and medical examiner. And my recommendation is that you table this until you have a new administrator on. It's going to be an extensive work on this, and the end result is going to take a lot of administrative work as well. So having an administrator part of that overall process would be important. So I wanted to discuss that with you and get your input on it.
I mean, I could see holding off on the jail ad hoc, but I almost think that the morgue and medical examiner may need to go ahead and get started. If you even have one meeting a month, if it takes us 6 months, it's not that many meetings. I think that would be a more priority to me anyway, but.
Okay.
I think there's a lot of work that could be done without a lot of administrative oversight.
At least bringing together the stakeholders.
Yeah.
I think we've beat the jail need around on multiple occasions for the 20 years that I've been sitting in this chair. So you know, I don't think any of us questions that we need a new jail, but it's a lot more complicated than just saying we need a new jail, because we have to cite it, we have to meet a lot of criteria. You know, the idea that we need a regional morgue, I think that's real. I think we all acknowledge that it's real. So I think we can start with putting together the stakeholders and identify what the need is and what the requirements are. You know, and we can do that with existing staff and with some volunteers from the community, I believe.
Tom?
When does our current medical examiner contract come up again?
December.
December,
I think.
End of
It's
the year.
1 year. End of the year.
Yeah.
Well, that'd be another reason for not delaying.
So you agree on moving forward with a regional morgue and medical examiner and setting aside the new jail discussion and
As far as an ad hoc committee.
Right.
With the morgue in the corner, what is it that we pay? We're set up on a yearly contract
For the medical
for the
examiner?
medical examiner,
This time, yes, we are.
and we could for one more year we're not going to get a morgue
Correct.
in by 2020, even starting right now with an ad hoc committee. It'd be nice, I think it'd be nice just to have the new administrator be able to start be right involved in the initial discussion so that they're not trying to jump in the middle of something.
Well, I think we'll have so many other experts in that field, I think that will be there that unless the administrator has some experience, I don't know if waiting's gonna gain anything for us, you know?
Okay.
I think it'd be easy to get them up to speed, because it is gonna be more of the essential stakeholders that know how to do this kind of thing and that, so that'd be, I guess, my opinion on it, so.
We'll probably put the health director as the lead for the ad hoc.
Very good.
The purchasing policy has been discussed quite often, and this is just a draft. This has not went out to the departments and has not been vetted through the managers. I can tell you that based on some of the feedback that I have had is that written versus verbal, in the budget, not in the budget. So those are the things that we really need to vet through the departments and make sure we don't have unintended consequences with a policy. But I wanted to put something in front of you to get really your feedback on where are you and what are your concerns with the current purchasing policy? Is it just the limit, or is it to let the board know when we're making major purchases? But if they're in the budget, do you still want those to come back to you even if after it's been approved?
Cheryl?
Well, I like where you're going with what you've presented here as far as the dollar amounts and the process. I personally think that we need to be looking at, just because there's a budget doesn't necessarily mean you should be spending the money. We looked at a lot of numbers related to expenditures that looked like it was people spending money as opposed to what was the need that was tied to that. And, that's the question is, if you've got a $100,000 budget, if you want to, do something crazy, but you've got the money in your budget, should you do it just because you've got the money in your budget? And I guess my feeling would be no. I'd like to see some rational basis tied to the spending of that money. I'm not sure, where we put the parameters in to not make it overly burdensome. But on the other hand, the the nickel and diming is what's going to kill you on your budget, you know. 5,000 here and 5,000 there, all of a sudden you're talking some real money, so.
I know I always struggle with, like with the sheriff's department, they have in their budget to get X amount of vehicles, and you know, I think they're doing their due diligence, so sometimes I feel like it's just another step for them to come to us. But I guess I don't have heartburn either way, you know, but it just seems to be kind of redundant if we've approved the budget and saying they're going to get, you know, in their vehicle purchase, they've had X amount of dollars. You know, of course, you do lose some oversight if something does happen, you know, but, you know.
Tom, did you have a question?
Thanks for putting this draft together. One of the things that I would look for, and it comes up later tonight, is that when we hired the search company, they offered us a warranty, essentially. And I'm wondering how often we record things like that when we purchase goods and get services or contract with people, how we keep track of our warranties and what the standard would be for requesting more warranty against products and services that we buy, so that if it goes bad too soon, you know, that we're protected, especially on the electronic equipment. Do you know what the guidelines for that would be? And could that be in the purchasing policy that we require certain warranties?
I don't have an answer for you on that, but I can say is that we know when there's a warranty based with the department head. So the department that has that would have that contained within their own individual files.
They would be the person who keeps track of it.
Yes, they would. And in some instances, it would be our finance department as well. There's a note in there that knows there's a warranty attached to it.
Sonny?
Well, a couple things. One, I think we have to remember that, you know, it's very easy to say, well, the sheriff has this money in his budget. We don't approve a line item budget. I think one of the things that we probably, through our budgeting process, should be better at is making sure for these capital purchases that we have a list of what those capital purchases are that we're budgeting for and how much we're projecting the costs are. We used to do that, and then in the last few years we've gotten away from it, and we've just we approve a budget with just a clump number in there, and you know then I can't tell whether we're buying cars or handcuffs or stun guns, you know. So I guess what I'd like to see is, as part of our budgeting process, when we're talking about those capital purchases, that we actually see a list of those and what we're projecting those costs are. It's more a part of our budgeting process than it is a part of the purchasing policy. The other thing that I see when I read this, the idea of changing the three verbal quotes to written quotes for $1,000 to $2,000. You make me go through governmental bidding process for a $2,000 job. I'm probably not going to give you a quote on the job.
I think that's
Because
the unintended
the paperwork to quote
what?
a lot of governmental stuff, particularly if it's grant funded or if there's any federal money for a $2,000 job, the paperwork is 30 pages long. For a $2,000 job, it's not worth my time.
Cheryl?
So just to dovetail off of Tom's comment about warranties and knowing what's warranted, you know, for example, looking at the capital improvements and the leaky roofs and the cornices that are falling off of buildings, et cetera, you know, do we have any recourse? I mean, we have a 10-year-old building. When did it start? Could we have sought a remedy for it 2 years ago? I mean, they didn't just crumble and fall off now. But you know, my thought is that it strikes me that this is sort of like the issue that we've gotten into multiple times this past year, where we've had to renew contracts on things because we didn't know when they expired. We didn't know when they needed to be bid. We didn't know, nobody knew. So it isn't really helpful if a department head has the warranties, or if the department head has the knowledge, if everybody else doesn't, if somebody isn't a central repository.
When it comes to your facilities, you do have a central depository. So that would be your facilities department. And where are those? Those are in the facilities department that identifies where everything is at and if there's warranties. Some of our facilities are old. When it comes to the Hall of Justice, that was a building authority issue. So they would have all of the warranties associated with that work that was done. So there's a process, particularly with the facilities, but when you're talking about a car warranty, that's going to be something different. If it's an electrical, that's going to be the facilities department's responsibility to identify how that's going to be taken care of if it's not, if it falls under that warranty. It is being tracked, but I can't tell you how that's being tracked.
Okay, so I think the question would be, have there been any claims made on any warranties in the last year?
For the Hall of Justice, there was warranties that was called upon at the very beginning. Are they beyond the warranty after 10 years? I don't know.
No, but I mean, the electrical purchases, or the computer purchases, or the equipment purchases, or the lawnmower purchases. I mean, I'm on the audit committee. I see how much we purchase on a biweekly basis. I mean, we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of purchases. Who's tracking whether we're getting our money's worth or not?
I guess the best answer I'm going to have to respond to is I'm going to have to get back with you on that, on how we do respond, how we track that.
Okay.
Well, and I think we're, we quite often, over the last couple of years, we've spent some pretty significant money on a building like the Hall of Justice. We just replaced all the air conditioner condensers, and somehow or another, and I asked at the time, why are we replacing these in a building that's 10 years old?
8 years old.
We had a significant problem with the wood paneling cracking in two of the courtrooms. A year and a half, 2 years after the building opened, and it was big money to repair, and somehow or another, I questioned at the time whether or not we should be having to pay for this, and we were repeatedly told yes, there was no warranty on that. But at the same time, when I'm looking at mechanical type things, furnaces, air conditioning units, it's amazing to me that 10 years and we're spending the money, because we replaced those air conditioners in about 8 years, and it's like, and they were big ticket items. And it's unfortunate, but.
Well, if I could just have one final thought, I just wanted to say, I think it goes back to an earlier conversation we had, that as an entity, we do not bargain. We do not bargain very zealously when we're contracting for things. We don't. We just, somebody makes us an offer and we just take it, and we don't counteroffer, and we don't, I'm thinking of the building over there for the Pace building. We settled for a very low rent on that, and we didn't bargain at all on any costs, or, it's just an example. But the point is, we need to bargain harder. We need to bargain as though it was an arm's length deal when we're talking about the citizens' tax dollar. I mean, if you were negotiating for something, you would negotiate zealously to make sure you got the best deal, and that you got the best warranty, and that you got the best whatever. We don't do that. We need to do more of that.
Well, the problem you have with that, though, is if you do an RFP and you have, 3 or 4 people respond to the RFP, how do you decide who you want to try to bargain with? Because then you've shut somebody out, or,
Yeah, but you have to have some language in your RFP that says we're going to, these are the expectations, we're expecting that we're going to have a warranty on this, work, and we expect, and we don't do RFPs that include warranty language or that include that kind of stuff. Just put them in the RFP.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's for sure.
The one thing I would mention about the purchase policy and the, over $1,000 having 3 quotes even, is that if anybody's ever had to get a crane in town, there's not 3 people to contact for a crane. So if you're going to hold up process of a job getting done by forcing a department head to get 3 quotes, and that's just one thing that I think about.
Well, one of the things is some of those professional services, and I think maybe we should somewhere along the way define what constitutes professional services. because, we've always talked about professional services in the lines with, auditors or attorneys or those kind of things. We automatically assume those are professional, but there's a lot of those other specialty service, well, with a few exceptions. But, there are a lot of other services around that. If you want to get a crane that can set a unit on the top of this building, there's not very many players around, as far as local.
Right.
I think you can get one company in town, and probably one from Kalkaska is about the end of the rope locally, that we could put a unit on the roof of this building with.
Right.
And that's just the wording in there too. I mean, you could
Right.
just put it in there that if there's not 3 players, just say that when you bring it.
But I think, the point is, for at least in my mind, the $1,000 to $2,000, I have no problem asking the department head to get 3 prices if they're available, if possible. But to go through a written governmental bid process for a $1,000 job, I don't think it's worth the county's time or the vendor's time to do it.
Do you want to take the lead on the next thing? on
And
the
I do
pension?
like the idea of the $10,000, anything over and above that comes back to us too.
Absolutely.
The attachment F on the pension and retiree, I'll have Dean kind of walk that through with you. This is the new legislation that was approved at the end of the last year.
There's quite a bit of information on this page, but the bottom line is, for our pension and for the retiree health, there are new reporting requirements. We will have to report by 6 months after the end of our fiscal year, and there's no reason we can't report earlier, but basically there's 2, if you look at the middle of the page, for pension plans, the key will be our funded status, and the Act refers to, they're concerned about if we're underfunded. For pensions, that target is they want us to be at least at 60%. And we do not have our 12/31/17 information from MERS. We will get a summary report here probably before the end of the month that we will share with you. I'm hoping that we're going to be at that 60% because of the additional payment that was made in 2017, as well as the normal payment that was made. For the retiree health OPEB, the underfunded status would be at the 40%, and that's where we do have some exposure, because we have at this point in time $250,000 approximately with MERS. The liability, based on the last valuation that was done, was approximately $7.7 million. 40% would be a little over $3 million. Now, that doesn't, obviously, we're not at 40% there, so that's where we're subject to whatever Treasury will determine has to happen if we're in that underfunded situation. Because this was signed into law just before the end of last year, some of the, it mentions a waiver. I would suggest at this point in time that we definitely apply for the waiver for the pension. Those waiver documents have not been developed yet. And then the same would be true with the retiree health. Obviously, and Jean and I, we felt that you need to know this now. We certainly don't want to report to Treasury and then have a letter coming back in July or August saying, you're underfunded in your retiree health. What are you going to do? So that's something that we really need to be aware of. I can't tell you what that waiver process would be because they haven't developed the form. But based on our review of the Act, the concern would be with that retiree health, what we do to show the state that we're serious about funding that. And one of the things that we need to do, the last valuation was done in 2015 for the end of 2015. We really need to engage someone to do another actuarial valuation. I believe there have been some changes that have been made that may help lower that liability, but that's the first step, having that valuation done by an actuary to determine, what that liability is at the end of 2017. So not the best news, but just, some heads up that's kind of what the state is doing. They want us to report our assets and our liabilities, and with the pension, I think you've done quite a bit of work to get to that 60%, and then obviously there was some discussion at the end of 2017 to make your entire payment to MERS early in the year, which helps get those dollars there and earning a rate of return. So with that, I think I will just turn it over for questions.
Dean, if I understood that right, and I read more of that crap than I need to, but the state also requires, if we are underfunded, that we designate a plan of how we're going to get to an acceptable level, correct?
That is correct.
So the fact that we're underfunded, if we're at 60%, that's a great thing, and all of you have heard me complain for years that we don't need to be at 100% for our retirement funds. But we know that we're significantly underfunded in the OPEBs. We've always been able to meet our expenditures. We've always had enough money there to meet our obligation. But, as far as having it set aside in a fund is kind of a new thing for us. Not that it's a new thing for everybody, but it's kind of a new thing for us. But I think the important thing is that we denote in our budget, whether it's, the 2018, we set money aside in the 2018 budget, we'll set some money aside in the 2019 budget, whether it's, that number is going to be 250,000 or whether it's got to be 750,000, I don't know. But I think the big thing is we have to show the state that we are, in fact, have a plan of how we're going to meet the need.
In my opinion, I think they're going to see that you're serious because of what you did with the pension, but they still will require, what's the plan for the retiree health? And
So you'll be putting that together for us, right?
yes.
There you go. Thank you.
The next is the hiring of department heads during the interim period, and at this time,
Can I interrupt for a second?
Yeah.
Did we want to pass planning commission or planning department?
With the planning,
It was after purchasing policy.
The planning department, I heard you at the last meeting, and I'm reaching out to Networks Northwest to see how they can help us with the planning commission. And I have reached out to Matt McCauley, and we'll be meeting with him to try to bring a recommendation to you by February 21st, your second meeting in February. Okay?
thank you.
There was some discussion about the HR and the HR director, and I just wanted to give you an overview of what we're doing in the HR department and rebuilding that department from the ground up with two new HR analysts, Leanne Skiff and Zach Jewett, an HR specialist. And really what we're doing is building and getting the two employees there, understanding the whole operation and reaching out to the employees in the department and understanding the operation to then be able to grow that into, they can move into the directorship after they understand the whole operation of the Human Resources Department. They have reached out, and Leanne and Zach, if you can come up and introduce yourself. I think it's important that your new employees that are the face and interacting a lot with the talent that we have here at Grand Traverse County, it's important that you know who two new HR specialists are.
I'm Zach Jewett, I'm the personnel specialist for Grand Traverse County. Just to give a quick overview of myself, I actually went to St. Francis here, grew up on 11th and Oak Street, went to Michigan State for undergrad. I heard there's some Spartans on the board.
Yay, go green.
Go white. Then moved to Chicago and got my Master's of Science from Roosevelt University in Human Resource Management. Have about a little over 7 years of experience in human resources in a wide range of industries, so architecture, retail, healthcare most recently, insurance, and now government, I guess you could say. My passion in human resources is really with the employees, so, one big aspect of my job coming forward is really getting out and meeting all the department heads, meeting all the employees, and kind of really, like Gene said, building it back up from the ground and going forward with that. Some more personal information on myself. I've got a wife and a 2-year-old daughter. We have a second daughter on the way in about 3 weeks. Could be a little sooner. It sounds like it might be happening pretty quick here. So that's terrifying. And just quickly over the next 6 months, I've got a couple goals for the HR department that I wanted just to speak to real quickly. Looking to improve the onboarding orientation process for new hires, all new hires, that would be management and below. Recruitment efforts as well, increase the visibility as I spoke to, so that would be ourselves going out and meeting the employees and increasing the utilization that our employees use with the HR department. Additionally, I'd like to work on a wellness plan, potentially with MSU Extension for our employees. And then also utilize our current vendors that we have in HR, so that'd be the Lighthouse Group with our benefits, and really fully utilize the kind of stuff that they offer. So, Leanne.
My name is Leanne Skiff. I actually been with the county for about 8 months. I started off in the finance department. I had a chance to work with Dean for about 3 days and then moved over to HR. My background is finance/HR. I was a business manager at a local school, actually the school I graduated from, for 13 years. And so I did labor relations, and I also did research on for the health insurance components, especially when PA 152 came into play, where we had to meet the hard caps or the 80-20%. We were able to have the staff move over to an HRA and then successfully moved them to an HSA. I also had worked with what's similar to the MERS pension plan that the county uses, but I used what the district or the public education had, so it's similar to, it went from a defined benefit plan to a defined contribution, and then there's a hybrid in there as well. And then also I was a financial advisor for a little time, and I also was licensed in to sell retirement plans, which was 457s, 403Bs, along with with life insurance plans and also health insurance. A little bit about myself. I grew up in the Manton area, graduated from there, graduated my associate's degree from Northwestern Michigan College from here in Traverse, and then I went on and did my bachelor's through Baker College of Cadillac, and then I did my master's of business administration through Ferris. So I've stayed within the area.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Good to have you.
You bet.
Any questions?
Nice to be able to see where we're moving to where we can do some of this on our own with our own people, because we've paid a lot of money for contracted services over the last few years, couple of years anyway.
We're really excited.
Good luck.
Yeah.
With the baby, that is.
And the job, yeah.
Well, the
yeah,
job,
go ahead.
you know.
Throw that in there,
Yeah.
too.
Just remember, sleep is overrated.
It's already tough. She's sick right now, so it's difficult.
Oh, bummer. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then I just wanted to identify that there's 2 department head positions that we will be interviewing for in the next 2 weeks. One is the facilities manager, and the other is the resource recovery. And it's my recommendation that we continue to move forward with those 2 interviews, and that they come back to this board for concurrence on the final recommendation for each position. They're important positions within the organization, and one that, particularly on the facilities and resource recovery, we've been wanting to really move forward with both of those. So, and that would come back to you for concurrence, so I'm just Looking for, yep, that looks good.
Yep, that looks good.
Okay.
Before we go into the next step, which I assume is going to be the search for the, yes? Is that where we're going next?
Well, I think we'll be, have you got anything else you were going to be reviewing on? Thank you.
Yeah,
Pretty
no,
much done.
I'm all set.
That's why I wanted to add something.
So then are we going to be talking about we prepared to talk about search?
I have an interim that I'd like to talk to you about, and then you can go into the search
Okay.
discussion.
I had something I wanted to add to our to-do list, because I thought that what we were doing tonight was not just hearing the list that you thought
Right.
we had, but maybe hearing what we wanted to add to that list, so I didn't know if
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So what I would like to have administration look at and come back and report to us is the feasibility and viability of going forward with a millage for animal control.
Okay.
And I'm just putting it out there. I'm not asking for any opinions on it right now. It needs to be explored
It
and
is
discussed.
kumbaya night, so I'm not saying
There
anything.
you, oh, it's kumbaya night. And what else can I bring up?
Okay, thank you. That's on the list.
If we're talking about things for the future, this could just be an agenda item for the future, but the sale of property on Rennie Road to Blaine's Farm and Fleet, to discuss what we're going to do with that.
Okay.
I guess I'm not sure what you're asking, what we're
There's
going to do.
$400,000.
We'll have cash.
Oh,
Got money. We got money.
So the Land Bank Authority is meeting on Friday.
Friday
and
morning, 8 o'clock.
We'll be discussing that as well.
on my
So that'll
calendar,
come back.
Goodwill Letters.
So is there any other items to add? So I wanted to get your feedback and comment about an interim administrator after I leave on March 1st. I've talked preliminarily to the prosecuting attorney, the sheriff, the undersheriff, and Chris Forsyth about the opportunity if they being the undersheriff Nate Alger and Chris Forsyth would be willing to assist the county board in serving as the interim administrator with, at this point, we're not sure who would the point of contact be. We're thinking that it would be the undersheriff, Nate Alger. But before we really talk and kind of digest that and bring you a full plan, I'm just looking for, does that make sense to you to have an interim administrator internal? They're both have, as you know, very high skills on management and, of course, civil, and respect of the departments, and can manage the day-to-day operations for you, so you can really just focus on the search of the county administrator.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea, if we can, to have internal people, and definitely, if not, local people, so, if possible.
Okay.
Well, I certainly, I know that Gene's had these conversations with both Nate and with Chris, and I want to thank both of them for their interest, because I think it's going to be very significant. It's going to make our life a lot easier through this interim period, because on a good day, it's going to be at least 4 to 6 months before we have an administrator in-house, But I also want to thank Bob Cooney and Tom Bensley, because without their support,
Right.
it's not even possible. So I think that's important, and I even had a little bit of a chance to tell the sheriff that this afternoon, even though he came to razz me about something else. But I do certainly appreciate Bob and Tom's support of this too, because I really think we can do this with an internal candidate, and I don't think there's any particular employees in this county that don't have utmost respect for both of these gentlemen. So exactly how we flesh it out, who does what part, Carol Stocking said it tonight. We have a lot of great people in this county, a lot of great employees that are doing a great job to serve this community. We just need to help to coordinate that a little bit. And I think Chris and Nate will be able to do this jointly without a problem. But we as commissioners have to remember that, we may not get some of the answers quite as fast as we think we should, because these guys are still going to try to do their regular job too. So we have to acknowledge that also. So, not that any of us send them on wild goose chases or something, but let's be realistic about what we ask them to do and what we expect.
So maybe
them to
we'll
do.
have less meetings, is what you're trying to say. Is that kind of what you're saying, Sonny?
With more study sessions?
No, I mean, I think it's a wonderful idea. I think it's, one of those thinking outside the box things that instead of looking at one person, you get kind of the best of both worlds. And it's going to I know they had a lot of free time, so it'll help them with taking care of that, so.
My wife has something to say about it.
You have one of those too, right?
Sure. Anything?
Oh, I'm fully supportive. It's always been my mindset that we need to go within the organization. I mean, all I have to do is look at Jean and the fabulous job she's done for us. Basically, since Vicki came to us, we've had Jean, carrying the weight, and she's done a fabulous job. It's been seamless. I have not had a single call from a single citizen saying that they have had any delay of services, that they have noticed any problem with anything related to the county, and it's due to, the people that work here. They all do a great job, and so to have Chris and Nate be willing to step up into the fire, as it were. Thank you.
Well, and I think we also owe it to Jean to try to make her transition into her new career as seamless as possible too.
Absolutely.
And, we can't be continuing to pile everything on her. We all know that we've put a lot on her plate over the last couple of years. So as she moves out of here into a different career, we want to make that as easy for her too as we can.
I think it'll make it much easier for a new administrator coming on, knowing that there's two people right here that have been involved, and that that administrator will be able to get answers.
I assume the plan's going to be to get the administrator and then let the administrator get the deputy administrator and fill that position.
Absolutely.
I mean, this kind of shows how vital that position is. You never know when situations come up like this, so.
That's exactly right.
Well, and we've been through that a few times before, and fortunately, Dean's been able to step up and put a lot on his back on multiple occasions over the last few years, the last 10 years. So, I appreciate all of his efforts, and in fact, I had a long conversation with Dean a week ago about whether or not he was interested in the interim job or the permanent job, and I think we came to the consensus that he feels he's better suited in the finance department, and he thinks he's more comfortable there, and he will do a great job for us there.
Well, and I think with all the extra reporting requirements the state keeps throwing at Dean, he's going to be staying busy anyway.
So is that your
So I
answer?
think you have support, Jean.
Thank you very much.
Search?
Did you see the train light, Chris?
On the search, I basically feel that it's your role to do. I am happy to help find information, but I think the most important component for the County Board of Commissioners is really to have agreement on the process at the very beginning. Agreement that who's going to be doing the search and how they're going to do the search, and have it as an agreement with all 7 of you. So that's really the only thing that I'm going to offer. I think it's important that I step out and you guys step in.
Sonny?
Well, I think we've got two pieces here. GovHR is under warranty to us to come back and do it again. I think we certainly invite them back in and have the discussion. I guess, having been through it the last time, and actually in 2 times, I guess I'd like to hear from them what they would anticipate doing differently this time. I'm not sure that, you know, I know that I wasn't completely happy, you know, and a number of the rest of you weren't, with the way they vetted the applicants and then bring us a very short list. I wasn't all as happy with the short list as I'd like. So I guess what I'd like to hear from them is what they would do differently and what they can do for us. Remembering that just because it's free doesn't mean it's necessarily the best process. And the other organization that we have available to us is the Michigan Municipal League, and they do executive searches all the time too. So I have no idea what kind of presentation we would get from them. You know, we didn't hear from them when we put out the RFP for companies to quote the search the last go round. They didn't respond to that, which was kind of surprising to me. But, you know, that's the other one. You know, we can also go back to an RFP for a search firm, but, you know, I wasn't all that excited about the last go round. And, you know, I know I'm speaking for myself. Tom and Cheryl may have different opinions, but we went through a lot of proposals from different companies about how to do the search. You know, some of them were many pages, but you know, they didn't tell us how they were going to be any better than anybody else, and the price tags were all over everywhere. So I guess as far as from my mind, I'd like to hear from GovHR. I'd like to have a discussion about, you know, what did we miss somewhere along in that process, you know, and you know, I don't think anyone, either them or us, could anticipate a family emergency that was going to take Vicki from here. No one could have anticipated that. But what can we do differently that maybe gets us a long-term person? And then the other organization is, you know, from having been around a little while, Michigan Municipal League. Let's bring them in and hear what they can offer us for a service.
Yes, Bob?
Yeah, I mean, personally, I hold this board at fault for that process. I don't hold GovHR at fault because, I mean, there was nothing but a mad rush to get Tom and Jen out of here, and that's why the process failed to me, was, you know, not stepping back after that first, you know, the collapse of the offer and everything else. We should have, you know, stepped back and said, let's start this over. I think we'll have the same people apply no matter what search firm we have, and I just think we need to get more involved with it this time. And you know, I think now that we don't have somebody they're trying to force out, I think we will be able to take our time and to sit here and vet it. I do agree completely that it was the most ridiculous thing we ever did was give them questions ahead of time. I've never seen that before in any interviews I've ever been involved in, but, so.
Yes, Cheryl?
Thank you for that kumbaya moment.
I know, I left that over there, yes.
You just kind of had to go there, didn't you?
Had to throw it in there. Well, that's part of the process, though.
Okay.
So.
I think it's fiscally prudent to go with GovHR. We've already paid them the money. I think they know how to find us people. The question is, we have to tell them more about the kind of people we want. We have to tell them we want more people, okay? We need to not give as much authority to them as we gave to them, because they brought us an initial pool of like 8 people. Well, that's nuts. We need an initial, we told them we wanted 15 to 20 people, and we got 8. I mean, we already started out in the hole. So they're the ones that told us we were supposed to give them the questions ahead of time. That was not our advice.
No, our chair offered that. I'm pretty sure our chair offered that, because I think he was taken back by it also.
Okay, well,
I mean, but again, it's neither here nor there.
Yeah, regardless. I mean, I think that, you know, you have what you believe was why things happened the way they happened, but regardless, I mean, I would say that I do feel a pressure to find somebody, even though we're not forcing somebody out, because I think we need leadership, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the interim people, you know, they're going to be working double jobs, and this is not their career path, and they're helping us out. We need to get, you know, a leader in place. So I do feel, you know, that we should have an aggressive timeline. I mean, the last time we had an aggressive timeline, we said we were hoping 4 months from start to finish. I think we should still have an aggressive timeline. I think it needs to start now. I think we need to get a hold of James and say, James, we need you to come here toot sweet. I mean, we have a meeting next Wednesday, we need to meet with him next Wednesday and get the process going. The good news is, all the stuff is done. I mean, the selling of Grand
Yes.
Traverse County packet is already done. Maybe we could ask him to update us on where he solicited, and maybe we say, well, how about if you add these places, or what about looking at that? But we need to roll on it, we need to use GovHR, and we need to be more involved.
Yeah, and that's kind of what when I say more involved too, because we did learn a lot in that process, and I agree completely. I think we stepped back too much, and I don't know how many people apply to a position like that, but I wouldn't even be against everybody meeting and looking at them confidentially and just say, look, here's the people we like, and yeah, it's going to be more time consuming, but I think we have to do a lot more involvement, hands-on this time. So.
Tom, did you have a question?
Yeah, I agree with the comments. I don't remember how we decided that some questions would be given to them in advance, but we could fact check that if it's important. The situation is that we want to get more involved with our search, and I think everybody agrees with that. And of course, Dan and Carol aren't here to ask, but I'm guessing that they might agree with that too. And I think we should ask for the earliest date that James from GovHR come to one of our regular meetings, and that we engage him in the conversation, and so that he understands without, he could be actually watching right now perhaps, but so that he understands that we would like to change the process, and we want to be more involved. And we're not going to form an ad hoc, we're going to decide as a board. And if we get 40 applications, maybe we want to see 20, on our table, that he can, filter that many out, but we want to see a larger number to choose from, so that we can get also a better feel for who's applying as well. And if it's necessary to post it for a longer period of time, maybe we were a little bit on the shorter side of what is normal for the posting of the job. That's possible. But one of the other things that he was careful to do, I remember, was that he didn't set an exact deadline. He said what the deadline was, but he didn't say like 4 p.m. or something like that. He was within a 24-hour period on the deadline, I believe, which is interesting from his point of view, and I'd consider all the advice that he has for us quite seriously, rather than tell him, how to do his job, because obviously he knows how to do his job. But I think we'll be successful. I think we'll get some new names. I think that the publicity that we get for our search and for our last administrator will actually just encourage more and more people to have their eye on us and consider us as an employer. That I think that this process could be more successful than the last one, and I hope it is. So.
Thank you. Cheryl?
I just wanted to say, I want to encourage James not to substitute his value system or his mindset for ours. I think that was where it fell apart the last time, was that he tried to second guess what we would think about that one situation. And his duty is to give us all of the information about the candidates, and we get to decide how we feel about the information. So we need to make sure that we remind him not to substitute his values. So it's just a small point, but it turned out to be kind of a big one.
One of the comments that I'm hearing here tonight is the fact that we want to see all of the applicants or some, but I think Chris talked to us about that the last time, that when we do that, then it all becomes foilable.
Yeah,
that there's some problems with that.
Yeah, candidates can mark their applications confidential. That is something Open Meetings Act allows. And so, yes, there's a concern of, not really a concern of legally, that all of the candidates, all the information may be open to the public.
Immediately when we see the initial applications.
I mean, if you don't want the job, if you don't want people to know you're applying, I guess you better not apply then. I mean, I hate to lose people because of that, but I mean, the bottom line is we need to know what we're getting into, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'd rather look at as many candidates as we can. My goal is for us to be 7-0 this next time.
Me too.
For us to have spent enough time in the discussions, in the interviews, that we're all comfortable, and I truly believe we're going to be successful in it.
I do too.
So we learned a lot. this last go around.
Kumbaya.
I'm telling you, it's coming back. I won't tell you what I got in this coat, but
Okay, so is it the consensus that we want to have administration contact James and try to have him here for our February 5th meeting?
And I
Or 7th, I'm sorry.
think
February
also
7th,
just
next
to,
meeting.
might help James do a better job for us as well. It wouldn't hurt to have a meeting set up with MML, to have them give a presentation to us, what's it gonna cost? So that, I mean, just so that we know, I mean, we don't have to, we're not committed to hire them.
Yeah.
But
My
we
problem
need
with it is, like I said, it'd have to be something major for me not to go with GovHR again. And my feeling is if that happened, then that really is gonna extend this process. Because we're ahead of the game right now because they have all the recruiting information now. I mean, whatever the rest of the board wants, but I think that, to me, that just kind of muddies the water right now. Like I said, I really think they're gonna be successful with us being more involved, so.
So we bring GovHR in for our first meeting in February, and we talk about the specific process.
Yep.
And then we have them move forward. Now, if coming out of that meeting, we're not all comfortable, then
Yeah.
that's the time to maybe
Exactly.
go meet with
Sure.
Yeah.
the municipal league.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
And I had written down two goals for tonight, and it all had to do with having all 7 of us on, all the meetings, all 7 of us, not an ad hoc
Right.
committee.
Absolutely.
And when it's all said and done, 7 board members be approving the administrator. May not have a split. Then it'll be a win for everybody, I would believe.
Do you want to, I know the timing is important, do you want to hold another meeting next week so all 7 of you can, so 7 of you are agreed on GovHR to come on the 5th?
Why don't you see if GovHR
we
can
don't know
come
if
next
he's
week?
available on the
Why don't you see if he can come next week? I mean, why are we waiting 2 weeks? There's no time like the present. I mean, he knows we're out there and this is happening because he
Yeah.
sent us an email.
I'm just, my question wasn't about GovHR, my question was about the other 2 board members that are not here.
Right.
I don't,
I believe I believe they feel the same way.
I would
I would
believe so.
think
I think
so.
they both have getting a new person in place
As
as
a
a priority.
I'd like to ask if James could be here next Wednesday, if we could have a special meeting for that, and if not, then if he could be there on the first meeting in February.
Well, next Wednesday's the normal meeting.
No.
No, that's
It's not,
extra.
'cause we have an extra.
That's that fifth Wednesday.
Got a bonus round.
I know, but
Extra pay.
it's just that important that if we could get it in, that would be great. Yeah, extra pay, an extra 12 cents this month. Hey,
Be a bigger check at the end of the year, so might get 85 cents.
I got 89 last year.
Are all of you available next Wednesday at 5:30?
I'm always available on
I will
Wednesdays.
check with James and see if
Wednesdays
he's
are
available.
I don't have a real life, so it's.
I was gonna start going to the gym, but it didn't work out.
Are we all set with that, or are we ready for second public comment?
We're ready.
If anybody has comment?
Yeah.
And the rules were read earlier, so.
I noted those, thank you very much. My name is Lisa Vogler. I live in Lake Ann, on the border of Benzie County and Grand Traverse County. For the last 2.5 years, I've worked with the Wexford County Board of Commissioners on our new jail. And I call it ours because a piece of me, I think, is left in that jail, which some of you know came in under budget and approximately 3 weeks early. So we're very, very proud of that jail. I came here tonight to get a better understanding of what Grand Traverse County needed in regard to an administrator, perhaps an interim administrator. And what I heard initially in your meeting was a lot of talk about construction, which of course is part of my forte. And I'm well-schooled now after building the jail on what it means to be accountable to the taxpayers about municipal dollars spent for construction and capital improvements. But I also heard you talk about leadership and the importance of perhaps a local person, someone who's here, someone who doesn't have to relocate to represent the taxpayers of Grand Traverse County. I understand the importance, too, of relying on individuals who have a long-standing career here with the county, for example, like Chris. But I would suggest to Chris, if he hasn't done so already, that he look at the Incompatibility of Public Officers Act 15.181 and determine that, in fact, having an undersheriff and Chris, and I forget who the third person was, would not be a violation of that statutory provision. For some of you who do not know, I was raised in Benzie County. My family owned a lumberyard home center there for 35 years, and I've practiced law for over 30 years. I was educated both at the University of Michigan and then Michigan State. I have both sides, and the law school I went to is now part of Michigan State. So I have a unique role when it comes to construction projects because I immediately look at the risk management issues, the insurance issues. I developed some really great relationships when myself and my ex-husband owned a commercial contracting company, licensed commercial contracting company in North Louisiana before I came back home. That's where the bulk of my construction experience comes from. But I would be very much interested in helping this board and the taxpayers of this county in any way that I can, whether it be in a role that's limited to your construction projects and your remodel projects as a professional service or otherwise. And I appreciate your time.
What was the public act number that you cited about incompatibility?
It's MCL 15.181. 15.181.
If I can address that, because I did start looking at that act today, and it's on my to-do list, and absolutely, I know Nate and I, we want to do this right, and we want to do it legal. So there is some due diligence that we're going to have to do, and we're going to have to look at that act, and we're going to have to make sure we're complying with the law. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Keep us posted on that.
Yeah, we will.
Anybody else? Well, I guess we're done.
Motion to adjourn.
Ready? No. Handy Mark, 2875 East Railroad Avenue, Interlochen, Michigan. As if you guys didn't know. Good luck. Remember, you want to get someone in place, but you don't have to do it quickly. If you don't find the first person in a first go-round that you guys all agree on, or the majority of you agree on, as the administrator, you don't need to take them. If you don't have someone right away, it's not the end of the world. I've seen twice now, I've been paying attention, where you guys ended up settling. I think they both did a good job at what they specialized in. I think one got some problems addressed, and the other kind of start to build the morale back up. Now I need to find someone that can do both. Make sure you've got a good job description. That's important when you're looking for someone to know exactly what you're looking for and spell it out so that the people know what their job is, what you want, what you're hoping for. Make sure that you've got a relationship with the consulting firm, but they're doing the work. You don't need to heavy hand them through. You might not get what you're looking for if you're doing too hands-on. Give them the direction where you want to go so that they know what you're looking for, what you want, and then let them do their job. If you get too involved, you might end up shooting yourself in the foot and not get people because they don't want a board that's too heavy-handed. I know I'd have a hard time coming to work for someone who was always trying to push me, or someone's trying to push me in different directions. You're not going to get the results you want. But this is the single most important job that you guys have as commissioners, is hiring that administrator who's going to take care of all of us at the county. Good luck.
Anyone else? Motion to adjourn.
All gone now.
All in favor? Aye. Done.
Bam.
Better than I thought it might.